We're joined on the Roush Honda pregame show with the head football coach of the Heidelberg Student Princes, Mike Hallett. Coach, thanks so much for your time. Off to a rough start this year, 0-3, but make no mistakes about it. Everyone knows this is not an ordinary 0-3 football team. The Student Princes have lost by an average of just a touchdown a game, a lot of bad breaks going your way. Coach, what's been the message to the team to remind them of the goal at hand?
Well, it's a week-by-week process, and while we're disappointed in some of the outcomes, where we had opportunities to win 3 ball games and just didn't find the answers to quite get that done, we're certainly not discouraged. I love our team. They're very, very resilient. They keep coming to work every day. They're battling their faces off. You don't see a bunch of kids that are down in the mouth or poor us. They know that they've been in some really good ball games against some really good opponents. And, we're going to face another one this week with Otterbein, but our guys, they look forward to the challenge and feel like we're going to start catching some breaks here at some point.
Let's go back to last week's loss to Ohio Northern. The Polar Bears scored 24 unanswered in the second half to win 34-20. Coach, what went wrong for the Student Princes in the second half of that ball game?
Well, we had some scoring opportunities that we fell short on, and uncharacteristic for us, we had two passes that we tipped, our own offensive players tipped, and led to defensive interceptions for Ohio Northern, both of which led to scoring drives. One was on a short field. Some of those things are the things that, it wasn't like a bad pass, it just was an errant set of hands, and it's by one of our most sure-handed receivers. It just kind of happened, and that's kind of been the course of events here. That we haven't done anything dramatically bad. We just haven't made the plays that we're accustomed to making, and so when you have a few 3 or 4 of those in a ball game, it'll catch up to you. And we feel like all 3 of those games we've had those opportunities, and they've kind of slipped through our hands.
Going into the season, the big headline was the loss of All-American running back Cartel Brooks. He replaced by Brian Lacey, and while Lacey might not be as explosive as Cartel, he's averaging over 110 yards a game. You have to be pleased that you lose one great running back and there's another one waiting right behind him.
Yeah, Brian's been a really good player for us. I guess it was a couple of seasons ago. His freshman year, Brian's a redshirt junior now, so his freshman year, he became our number 2 back behind Cartel, and Cartel got dinged up late in the year and missed really our last game against Baldwin Wallace, and Lace jumped in there as a freshman and had 225 yards. And then in our playoff game, Cartel wasn't really available for us against Wittenberg, but Lace had 185. So we know that he is a quality running back. Unfortunately, the following year we lost him to an injury. And, I think last year he was solid, but he wasn't back to his full strength self. He was still recovering from his injury. And I think this year we're seeing Lace get back to what he's really all about. And, I think, while you're right, he may not be the breakaway guy that Cartel is. I think Brian's vision is as good as a running back as I've ever been around. We've had some good ones here, but Brian really sees the field very well. So it allows us to use some of our zone blocking schemes a little bit more than maybe we did with Cartel. So it gives us a little bit more punch in the playbook at times.
3 games into the season, Coach, what would you say has been the strongest unit for the Student Princes so far?
Well, I think our defensive line's playing really, really well. We've got a lot of depth. We've got some really talented players. Ryan Malloy is a senior. Joe Woolley are seniors. Those guys are both on the edges. Austin Crow, we missed him in the first game. He was out with he had a little surgery. So in week 1, we didn't have arguably one of our best defensive players in Austin Crow, who's just a sophomore. But he really started coming on in the John Carroll game, and he was a force in the Ohio Northern game. He had 10 tackles, 3.5 for loss, a sack and a half. And he's just starting to scratch his potential. And you got those guys, Ethan Rogers, Harrison Brown, Mario Pettit-Frere. It's not only talented, but it's very deep. So it allows Coach Greaves, our defensive line coach, and Coach Donaldson, our defensive coordinator, the opportunity to keep fresh legs in there. And I think that's been very, very vital for us in playing much better defense than we have the last few years. It's good to see our defense playing, and offensively, we got to give them enough run support to bolster their efforts.
Coach, Otterbeins won their first 2 games in the conference. They sit at 2-1 overall now. After scouting them and watching some film on the Cardinals, what do you feel is the number one thing that you need to stop if you want to have success against Otterbein?
Well, I think Coach Stout, Coach D'Amico, those guys are doing a really good job of not overloading their players with playbook. They're staying, and Tim's always done that. I think they've done a good job of really getting their kids to understand concept. They're throwing the ball well. We really thought the quarterback came on. Last week's game was the best he's played. He really was running the ball well, was sharp with his passes. They give you a good mix and a good balance. So to focus on one thing only, I think, you can really end up hurting yourself. That hurt us last year. We spent a lot of time worrying about their passing game, which was doing really well, but then the quarterback runs really hurt us in the game last year. The quarterback draws off the tailback kind of scat passes and those kind of things. So we've got to be ready to defend them vertically, laterally, and down the middle as well. So that's something that we've got to be on top of.
Coach Mike Hallett, thank you for joining us on the program. We certainly appreciate it. We'll see you Saturday up in Tiffin. Best of luck to you and your Heidelberg team.
Certainly appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.